you regarding the Senior Bowl week and the East-West Shrine game. Who is the biggest surprise, you would say?
I'll say this. It was really good to see a lot of these small school prospects, specifically in Mobile along the offensive line, show up. And even the kid out at Shrine, Thomas Perry, that's at Division III, Newberry up there in Vermont. He's people forget that he started out at LSU. So he was a highly touted recruit, but he did a really nice job at Shrine. But Clay Webb from Jacksonville State, or Jacob Bayer from Arkansas State, Gray Zabel from North Dakota State had a hell of a week. That was the biggest, I guess, surprise for me. But one player that I really enjoyed watching all week long, I gave him a day two grade heading into the week. And I was a little bit overzealous on him, but I wanted to see him live. And that was Mac McWilliams, the corner from UCF. He transferred in from UAB this year and just was watching his tape, guys. It was Travis Hunter, it was Tatora McMillan, then it was Jordan Tyson, first rounder next year from Arizona State. And I'm looking around and I'm saying, what am I missing here? This kid can play ball. And seeing him in Mobile, not only in one-on-ones, but also in teamwork and also competing in the ground game in the fringe areas and just ability to tackle was it rounded out the evaluation for me. It's finally just him wearing the UCF helmet just one last time. So if I had to pick one guy that really surprised, or for me just finalized my evaluation as a guy that hasn't been talked about a bunch, it's Mac McWilliams, the corner from UCF.
Yeah, I'm pumped on it. This is such a odd year for the draft. It seems like just compared to the last few years, where I mean, there's reports that some teams have 8 to 10 guys graded as first rounders, but there's a lot of these small school guys. I mean, you look at the kid from who was the kid from what is the name, the HBCU school, the tackle.
Yeah.
It was, I forget his name, but he was very good. But some of these skill position guys, the Commanders are obviously going to be in the market for a skill position guy, be that running back, wide receiver, tight end. Is there anybody out there that you think could maybe flash that you could see the Commanders maybe pairing up nicely with? I don't know why that question was so hard for me to get out. That was bumbling
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, the running backs, look, a lot of all the attention, guys, as you know, as he showcases, watching the big boys up front and then watching wide receivers, DBs go at each other. But I always like to kind of take time and watch these running backs and linebackers go at each other. And the running backs this year, I mean, I know I've talked about it in the past on here as far as guys upwards of 30 to 35 draftable grades, but there's a couple guys that were down in Mobile specifically. One is Brashard Smith from SMU. This kid was a four-star wide receiver that went to Miami, transferred to SMU, and really built some of one of the most electric backfields in college football this year with Kevin Jennings down there for the Mustangs, who we'll hear about next year. And Brashard is going to be a playbook extender right away. And when we look at the Commanders roster right now, I mean, for all the running backs on the roster, I can't look at one right now and say you're the RB1 for next year. I can't look at any of them right now. So Brashard, I think, is going to be an excellent RB2 for somebody. But in this offense with Jaden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury mixing things up, I really like him. And I also like Woody Marks. I like Woody a little bit more than I do Brashard as far as a running back. But just both guys that have just excellent vision, excellent footwork. They're tough in pass pro as well. I always hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, he doesn't have great technique in pass pro." I could care less. Technique is or pass pro. Look, it's an effort thing. Are you going to stick your face in the
Yeah.
mud or not? And both those guys did so this week against some damn good linebackers down there in Mobile. So running back specifically, Brashard Smith from SMU, Woody Marks from USC, and even the tight ends definitely showed out well there in Mobile too.
Yeah, and obviously Mike Green is a name that everyone has been seeing this week
Oh,
from
yeah.
the Senior Bowl, absolutely dominating some guys out there. But that being said, what would you say besides running back, it was the strength of the Senior Bowl, a positional group?
Yeah, I know this is probably a cliche answer considering the class, but the defensive line was very, very impressive. Day after day, I feel like a different guy popped. Even a guy like Aeneas Peebles from Virginia Tech, where
Mm.
at the end of the week, I wasn't expecting him to dominate on one-on-ones. That's just not his game. But in teamwork, in the ground game, bouncing off guys with bumpers tied to their shoulders, as far as just looping and teamwork, he's just a fundamentally really good football player. And then Jamari Caldwell from Oregon. All the attention has been on Derek Harmon this year as a potential first rounder, or Jordan Birch, or guys in the secondary like Jabbar Muhammad, who I really like in this class. But you look at Jamari at 340 plus pounds, and I talked to him after practice one of the days. I said, "Where do you kind of get that twitch from?" And he said, "I used to play running back." He's
Wow.
340 pounds, but the guy can move up and down the defensive line. So that's the type of player to where I think we can all agree on here as far as we don't really know what the future is for Deron Payne and John Allen on this roster. And credit to some of the rotational guys that stepped up this year, but the defensive line every single day was stepping up. And potentially, guys, even the best guy there was Darius Alexander from Toledo, a MAC kid who was very, very impressive all week long.
Wow. Yeah, that's going to be such a weird thing because like we put so much money and I mean draft capital into the defensive line, especially the interior.
Yeah.
But just to get run on like this consistently, it's like you gotta get a big boy. You gotta get a John Henderson. You gotta get a 6'7", 340-pound bull in there to hopefully be able to stop Saquon Barkley and Jameer Gibbs and some of these guys. But looking at some of the other positions, especially on the defense, is there any linebackers? I know you said that linebackers were very good up there. That some people say that could be a hole for the Commanders. Is there anybody out there that really flashed?
Yeah, very impressed with Smile Munden from Georgia. Now, you already know what you're going to get from Georgia linebackers. I know you're athletic and I know you can trigger, but what can you do in coverage? And
Mm.
Smile was, for me, the best linebacker in attendance there this week. I mean, he's picking off angle routes. He's staying with guys on little rail mesh concepts from out of the backfield. Runs extremely well in space, extremely smart as well. And looking at this Commanders group, Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu is obviously going to be around, but you don't know what you're going to get from guys like Jordan McGee. Is he going to be a piece? Is Dom Hampton going to play some hybrid stuff like we've seen in the Dan Quinn defense? We don't know just yet. And we're looking at this class, and specifically in Mobile, there's a lot of guys that can come downhill and hit you and then also drop your hips and flip in coverage. Even a guy like Justin Barron from Syracuse that can play safety, he can play backer, or Nick Martin, who's personally one of my favorites in this class. He wasn't healthy in 2024, but he was flying around there, and people expect him to test in the low 4.4s in the 40. So he's going to test well, and some of that stuff does matter for some schools, even though for me it's turn on the tape and see what the player is. But linebackers were great down there. I just love seeing guys pop, ability to show up. And I will say this from the Commanders' perspective, Chuck Cook, one of their head college scouts for Washington, he was locked into the offensive lineman this week. Locked in. Multiple guys just staring at them day after day after day, whether it was Anthony Belton, whether it was Carson Vincent, kid from Alabama A&M, some of the interior guys, and Adam Peters, day one, he was just standing there right on the sideline, wide receiver DBs, every single rep, taking notes after every single one. Those two positions, I think they're going to add O-line. I'd be pretty confident they had at least one receiver and one DB in this class.
That being said, Ryan,
from the Shrine, from the Shrine Bowl there was a quarterback from Canada, right?
There was, yes.
Do you know if we have to pay 25% more on his contract?
I don't know if he's going to be. Hey, I don't know if he's going to be an NFL guy, but it was cool seeing him down there. But guys, it looked like he was 12 years old learning the position.
Yeah,
it wasn't good for him, but good opportunity for the
yeah. Right.
That being said, you had a perfect segue into my question because Sam Cosmi tearing his ACL in the playoffs, we don't know how long he's going to be out, Ryan. And the fans were already wanting to add some more offensive linemen to this group. What are some guys' names for fans to monitor that could be in realistic range for Washington to get? Obviously, they don't pick till 29, and in the second round, it's going to be way farther down there, of course. But that being said, who are some guys that keep an eye on?
I think a dream scenario, if you're Washington, if you wanted to go offensive line in the first round and you wanted to get a guy that's really versatile, you can play him at tackle or guard. Personally, for me, it's Donovan Jackson from Ohio State. I think he's one of the highest floor prospects in this entire class and really one of my favorites. But I think as you work into day two or early portions of day three, a guy I really like is Miles Frazier from LSU. Now, he's someone that played guard, he played tackle, he didn't allow a sack this year for LSU. They had three guys down there in Mobile that were along that front five. The only guys missing were their center, and then, of course, Will Campbell, who's probably going to go in the top 15 picks. But Miles Frazier, just the versatility. Now, I'm not expecting him to come in right away and start. If they were really looking for that bona fide, certified right tackle right away, maybe they look at Ariante Ursary from Minnesota and bumping him to the other side, or maybe they want to look on day three for potentially Marcus Bowe from Purdue. I know it has some first round buzz. I don't see it. I think he falls deeper in this draft, but there are some big boys up front that really got after it. Even Jonah Monheim as well from USC this week that can absolutely play. And the tape is always the biggest thing for me, guys. It's just I'm not going to sit here right now and go into the Mobile coming back and saying, yeah, I'm going to drop this guy 2 rounds or raise him 2 rounds because I saw him win in 10 one-on-ones. I got 4 or 5 years of college tape on this kid. I got to trust what I'm seeing and really use these pre-draft showcases, as far as just the ability to finalize my evaluation. So I think that was great seeing some of these guys that were lower on rosters or depth charts or boards rise. But it's just I'm not going to go crazy after coming back from Mobile and seeing guys win at one-on-ones. That's just not the way I approach this.